Welcome to Shake Talk. I am here today looking forward actually to a very long overdue chat. I have been speaking with Miss Kelly Maynard for quite some time about doing a visit, and I'm really glad that this worked out for Lipedema Awareness Month. Today, we're going to take a little bit of a change in gears and talk specifically not about vibration machines, but we're going to switch gears to vibration guns. There's lots of different vibrational tools out there. Kelly was fortunate enough to sort of be a guinea pig last fall as part of an opportunity in her group. A few people have gotten some of these massage guns that many of you use now, many of you want to use, and many are afraid to use. So I want to give Kelly a chance to introduce herself, tell us where she's from, who she's here for. Many of you know her, so for the few that you don't, here's Miss Kelly.
Hey, I'm so glad that we finally got together. It
Oh,
has been just tag like all since last fall.
yeah.
But I'm Kelly Maynard, and I have a couple of things I do with lipedema. I'm a health and wellness coach that focuses on helping women with lipedema. It's one reason I'm so excited that Debbie has this new, well, not new anymore, I guess, but new page for fat disorders, because it's a really great place to refer clients, and I get a lot out of it myself. And also learning about the massage guns has been just a really great new tool. The other thing that I do is I'm an admin for a pretty large group on Facebook of lipedema and food sensitivities. And I think a lot of you probably are familiar with that. We're doing some things for Lipedema Month on there, featuring different people from around the world, different fabulous women who are just women like you and me who are just sharing their stories, helping you understand a little bit, helping you realize that you're not alone. And then we're featuring some therapists like Deb, who's going to be a featured guest pretty soon, featuring some therapists from around the world who are doing some really cool stuff that everybody might not know about. So you can check out that page for some features for this month, Lipedema Awareness Month. And I'm really glad that we got to do this for Lipedema Awareness Month too.
Well, and it's so funny. She says earlier that, it's great that she can refer clients to my page. If you're on my page, you're on her page, because I refer everybody over. Well, the biggest thing I talk about, lipedema, DIRCMs, rare conditions aside, the food's the biggest piece, whether you're dealing with something or not. And there's so much, I'm going to say the word, misinformation out there nowadays. You don't know where you heard it, but you hear something often enough, and egg whites are good today and they're bad tomorrow. So I personally love food. And as I've gotten older, Kelly and I were yapping a little bit here before camera, I used to carry it in weight and mass. And now, if my choices are poor, or I don't really have any insensitivities, or at least I didn't think that I did, I always used to think I have bad skin, and I always used to think it was grease or something, but sometimes it's maybe something that's more on the inflammatory side. And so it's a really, I'm going to say it's probably the foundational page if you're coming to the realization that you have lipedema, or you think you might have. And sometimes I know many of you find 60 to 70% of your body, physical body and mind changes just come from understanding how what your nutrition and what you're ingesting affects you. So thank you for having a page, because the biggest thing in the fitness world, the feel good, the therapy world is, we're 20 to 30% of it on the activity side. We really are what we eat. And I think many people struggle because the information, I wish it was in a little book that we could all just order, and this is how I eat for me. But much like I talk about in my exercise videos, what's so cool about the food intolerance pages, you could have 4 chicks all exactly the same. They could be quadruples and they all have lipedema, but even sometimes the activity I recommend is different. Sometimes the food is different. So right. It's really important. It is a lifestyle. It's a commitment to it. It's not just a quick fix. And you'll notice through the conversations on your page, oh yeah, no, I knew where those headaches were coming from. You begin to learn the triggers for your body and the treats that you can allow yourself. And, if you've been dealing with inflammation, weight, absolutely, some of it's going to be the condition, but man, have I learned a lot in the last, I mean, I've been on your page a couple of years now, but you're close to probably, I think you're just about 7,000, aren't you?
Yeah, just about.
Holy smokes.
Ah,
So question, if I may put you on the spot a little bit, new person to your page, new diagnosis. One of the things I like to plug on your page is you have a very healthy library of resources and very well
yes.
structured, unlike mine. So could you just a little bit, just let people know the kind of things that they could find in there with a group of your size? That's probably the first place you should stop to a degree.
It is. We have over 300 resources now, and they are categorized by topic. So it's not our favorite, but Facebook has organized itself to where there are things called guides, and
Yep.
that's really the only place we can put any kind of file that's not a video or something. So if you look in the guides section, you'll find topics like success stories, things like tools that you can use for your health,
We'll
and some of your articles are in there. Then we have sections for things like recipes and research and just any kind of thing you might want to learn about lipedema. If you think you might have lipedema, that's a place that you can go and look at it. We have quite a bit, it's lipedema and food sensitivities is the name of the group. So we have quite a bit about the differences between reactions to food, like allergies, intolerances, and sensitivities, and how you can figure out what you're sensitive to, different resources that you can use to, and tools that you can use to figure those things out. But what we really hope is that if you don't know where to start, you'll take some initiative, go on there and see what feels good to you. Because everybody you can read a lot of things, but if it doesn't like sit right with you, if it doesn't feel like that's what you should do, resonate with you, it's probably not going to work for you. At least try it first, because lipedema can be extremely overwhelming right at first. So those guides are good. Just don't get bogged down in all the information, because 300 resources is a lot of resources.
Well, and I guarantee that I haven't been through all of it, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Whether it's lipedema, cancer, you've grown a third arm. When something happens that doesn't quite fit the norm, you'll probably what's so brilliant about what you do have there is guaranteed that there's enough of a collection in there that something will resonate with you. And I would suggest the main reason you want to take a look at with any new group, I'm only at about, I just hit 3,000. I'm well below half of what you guys have, but there's a lot of time and effort that go into the effort of the admin and building those things. And, it's okay to ask questions, but it is frustrating, answering, some of those basics again and again and again. I know it's nice and it feels welcoming and it's nice to interact. But sometimes even the members of the page have had those conversations several times. So, I would suggest spending some time in there, at least, especially if you're just in the diagnosis and realization page. There's some really good links to some pretty credible resources, from the conditions, the food, and maybe just provide some clues as to how start navigating your journey. And there's a million other pages you'll bump into across there, but it's probably the one page that I'm associated with that does the food is intertwined in a lot of pages, because it's certainly a complement to everything, but it's very exclusive and quite in depth on some of those articles too. So I got about like 10 videos per week yet started. I'm building my videos as I go, but there's enough resources out there. I don't want to duplicate the wheel. So a lot of times if I'm tagging you guys in a group to any of my members, know that I'm doing that because I feel the answer is best sought there. I don't get lots of food questions, but I do get the odd one. I am not the expert. there are things that, are a common sense thing, with the type of activity that I'm working with, but what may specifically be a trigger, a good or a bad thing for you is probably something you should do a little bit of self-searching on. And it's just another piece of the self-care. It's just another habit to get into. So on to other things, shaky things, for the Shake Talk. Today, we are going to have a little bit of a chat about something that's very popular. I know it's the food intolerances page, but there's kind of a thing about massage guns going on over there, and it's a little giveaway. Oh goodness, yeah, we were trying to figure this out. September, how prepared was I? September, October, a company that I do some training and I'm happy to support said, hey, do you know a group that like you could give like 500 massage guns away to? And I thought, you are crazy. What do you mean? What's the catch, right? And there were a few bumps in getting this started, but sure enough, Amazon was doing a test, and that is a gun specifically sold regularly because of this test. But they were looking for some honest feedback, and I thought, man, do I know a group that would give some honest feedback. So Kelly has been using her gun for about 7-8 months. Your lumps, your bumps, your pain, your fatigue, everything's different. But I thought I'd just invite Kelly to sort of show you her best tips, a few suggestions. Like anything out there, there is no black and white for every body pain and lump. But generally starting, I think we were talking just for camera, and I see this in the group. Generally starting out is better versed and led by people that are dealing with your condition than what comes in the manufacturer's box. And there tends to be, a mentality out there. Yes, that these are sold to the general consumer, but there are medical grades. You put the word medical or health on it and it's like 50% more, but it doesn't mean the instructions are any better. So no, there is no preset program or perfect spade for a massage gun for lipedema or Derkums. Just like, there's how long should you walk every day to feel better if you have lipedema? It's going to be a variable for everybody. So I'm going to give Kelly a chance to show her model is a different one to mine. She's got a Sonic. Yes. And she's figured out a few things that work best for her. And I honestly think they're going to work best for this community as a whole.
Yeah, I've suggested a few things to clients too. So this is kind of a compilation and generalization of what's worked best to get people started.
Yep.
And then the clients that are most successful with the guns start out this way and then take responsibility for how that's going to work for them. So I will say the thing I like about the gun is that it's very light. A lot of women with lipedema have pain in their arms and weakness, muscle weakness. So I know there are bigger guns, but the bigger guns are not always the better guns.
If you have someone that's willing to apply whenever you need, but that 100%, and I'm going to say, because I have a number of them, even though like this one here, I'll give you an example. I don't want to say size doesn't matter. You've just got the one. Just right. This is the mini. And it's just as powerful as this one, but it's all steel. So for me, on my hand personally, it's a little hard to hang on to, whereas yours and the other one's a little bit rubbery.
Yeah,
this is 1.5 pounds. This is 1.25 pounds. So yeah, that's a really good point, and thank you for raising that. Sometimes, how much it physically weighs. Imagine you're doing this yourself as you need. So 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds max. I would say because you're not going to lose. You're not necessarily losing power, but you don't need something that's 5 pounds. You won't do it.
I'll also say this rubber handle muffles the vibration. So your hand is not constantly vibrating. And some women with lipedema, if you have nerve pain or you have overly sensitive nerves, which some do, it just depends on the woman. I don't know that we can say that enough.
Sometimes it's arthritis and just weakness. And I know what you mean. My hand can't physically hold. This is cute and sexy for traveling, don't get me wrong, but it's all steel. So it is, it's not the best day-to-day gun.
Well, for travel, I want to talk about that in a minute, but for travel, these come in a case.
They're easy anyways.
And I have attachments. They have little slots in the case. I took this on a trip and just, it's in a little tiny, it's about this big. I just put it under my seat. So
Took it as a carry-on.
it's not that big of a deal too.
It is portable. There
It's
are
portable,
other reasons
right.
that I'm loving this technology.
Okay, so as far as how I tell clients to use it, one of the biggest things that we hear is pain, a lot of pain. A quick tip is if you use this after you're in a shower, or maybe after you've used your vibration plate, or after you've gone for a walk, or something to heat up your body, anytime you are more relaxed and your tissues are heated, it's going to reduce your pain.
Okay. So a warm up.
If you
I usually
warm up
do just
first.
a little bit of machine time if you can.
Right.
Or vice versa. So absolutely, that's a good compliment. Warm up the muscles.
Yeah. So that has helped reduce the pain enough. Not everyone has pain. I'm not saying it's a guarantee you'll have a lot of pain, but if you find that that's something, don't just say that hurts too bad, I'm never going to use it. There are ways that you can help yourself.
And sometimes it varies. Maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe you don't have pain all the time. I think that's another good point. So if you're having a day where you're sensitive, maybe you need to change how you're using the gun.
Well, back to food also. If you eat something, it causes inflammation in your body, or you have you're outside and the pollen is bad and you're having a lot of, weird reaction to that, or anything that causes inflammation, that's going to make your pain increase too. Yeah. If you've gone through a stressful event in your life,
yes,
anything that your body senses as stress, it makes you tense, your pain is going to be more. So that's something to keep in mind. All right. So as far as actually using it, I would use it, you just turn it on the back, and I usually will put it up to maybe the little lights light up. I'll start it like on 3 or 4 little.
We have a 4 to 6 speed somewhere in that. Yeah. So we're suggesting
6.
As much as it logically we think we start slow. Kelly and I are the boss today. So we're saying, to be honest, based on our genuine experience, not only between ourselves, but a lot of women using these guns, because we had a giveaway, we learned a lot, good and bad.
We did.
Mid speed is smoother. It's less choppy. Start at a mid speed. Listen to what she's saying.
Okay. So once you get it on your speed, you can't really, I don't think you can even hear it.
No,
can you even hear it?
On camera.
It's very quiet. So if you sit with your family watching TV or whatever, you won't disturb the movie. Okay, so I hold it so lightly that I can hold it with 2 fingers, and it's just loose. I don't jam it in. Can you see my arm? I don't jam it into my skin. So it's very much on the surface. Just along the surface.
Opposed to pushing in, and you'll notice if you're pushing in, it'll bounce. You don't need to add a lot. Let the gun do the work.
Right. Yeah. That will also keep your arm from getting tired. The one that's holding the gun. If you're using tons of muscle,
it's harder for sure.
Your arm will start to fatigue really quick. All right. So where it can hurt with women with lipedema is like the backs of your arms.
Okay.
Go all the way down, because if you skip part
all morning,
if you skip part of your arm, then that part, I have seen where women have like part of their arm will decrease in size, and then they'll have like a little blip right there, because the fluid just pools where you didn't.
You're suggesting start and work it down. Isn't that, gun aside, isn't that how you do a manual massage? So yeah, same rules apply.
Yeah. Another tip that I've had is you have lipedema is a connective tissue disorder. Yes. Connective tissue connects. So if you are tense in your back, upper back and neck, and you're tense across your upper chest, that's going to cause your
shoulders.
Those lines run down your shoulders, down your arms. So one tip I've had is it helped me a lot, but it's also helped my clients. You can use this on your upper. Now my voice sounds, but you can use this on your upper chest.
You're using the round foam tip?
I'm using this ball.
Yeah.
I usually start with this, and then I'll turn this off so you can tell. I don't have to have it on to
No,
do
I
this.
can see. I got the same one on just so they can
Okay.
see.
So the round one is not quite as, it's more gentle than the flat.
Yeah.
And so this will actually, if you start with this one on a medium speed, then you can sometimes change to the flat one and maybe turn up the
Depends where
speed.
you're doing it as well.
It depends. The
Yeah.
other thing I like about this one is if you're reaching behind your back, it doesn't have to be like flat on. You can sort of do it with the edge.
I sometimes, and I know it's not the way, but it moves this way. Sometimes I'll just do it this way.
Right.
Like that kind of sensation. You know, I don't always have someone around to help me either, right?
Right.
Sometimes
So
if you have a bad range of motion, this can be challenging for some.
okay, if you get, so upper back and like top of the chest, not breast tissue, but up on
There.
top. Right.
There's no tissue till almost my waist.
That's how it is when we hit 50, right?
Right?
Okay.
Oh,
So that's a couple of things. The other thing is if you are, you can actually kind of figure out where your bad fibrotic tissue is.
okay.
If you are running this down your arm and it's just going and then all of a sudden it goes cluck, 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 cluck,
It's heard, yeah.
it jumps, like it will literally bounce up and down your arm or your leg or your.
There's more resistance. And you know, if you skim your elbow, not that it feels pleasant, but it's almost the same.
It's almost the same.
Yeah.
That would be a spot. You can stay over that spot back and forth gently, and
Give
it'll work
those.
It'll work out that fibrotic tissue. If you have a lot of pain and you just don't want to do anything, because some days it's too much, this is not a tool that you have to spend 3 or 4 hours a day. You can get a lot of pain relief, just, I would say 10 or 15 minutes a couple of times a day. One area that is really helpful, and my chiropractor who does fascia work told me this a few years ago, and I just went, whatever. But after 2 or 3 sessions, I was like, oh, he was right. And so this is a tip I give to my clients now with the massage gun, because it's easier and it doesn't cost as much as going to a person.
Yes.
Those of us with lipedema who carry weight in our abdominal area, it puts pressure on all of that in our hips and upper thighs. The other thing is many of us aren't mobile enough. Even if we can get up and down and we can walk around some, we sit a lot.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of sometimes hard to stretch because depending on our balance, our, you know, how much we can move around, it's just super challenging.
We just don't think about it.
You don't think about it.
You're laying in bed, oh, I'll do it tomorrow.
And one of the things I like about this laying in bed, I get it sometimes when I'm laying in bed and I'll just do here, release that tension, because if
it builds up, so you're bang on, chip away.
Mm-hmm.
Do anything, do a little bit.
But the place that my chiropractor told me is the hip area. So we're talking about like the very tops of your thighs, over the hip area, not on your hip bone because that would hurt, but around that area, the fleshy parts, up over the side of your hip. And if you're doing that, and a lot of us are blessed with hips, if we have lipedema, I would suggest you lay down on your side, and the hip that's in the air, that's the hip that you
massage it this way. Yeah,
right,
it's easier to come down than be laying on your side and holding the gun up.
Yeah. And well, the other thing is that means all that weight, gravity helps you, and all of that goes down. You can get in, even if you're not smushing the gun into your tissue.
Yeah.
Naturally, some of that weight moves down when you, because we all know what our thighs look like when we sit.
Gun stays in place better for the same reason you're not having to apply as much pressure.
Right.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
That can really, that hip area, if you can only do one area, I would do the hip area, just because we don't do anything with that area. You know, you can shrug out your shoulders, you can shake your arms.
It's a good habit to get into.
But the gun, it can literally be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And just doing that the same thing I just said. You can use this attachment in about 5 minutes on each side. And that area is not usually one that's really, really painful. So,
we tend to have whether you have lipedema or not, the meatier areas, even if you are passing by a little bone, you'll also notice you'll likely be able to over time apply a bit more pressure than it, the forearms where we tend to have less cushion, just like if on the machines, standing at a high speed is different than sitting on it because your body's absorbing it in a different way with the yoga pads that are built in. So, and that's I'll add as well, because, we all have our different motivations for being here and listening to Kelly and I today. I don't get it often, but if I get cocky and I overdo it and I wear some heels, I notice my knee will swell, but very often it's not until I'm in bed. And then I didn't do my stretch or I didn't do whatever. So it's nice just if you do have localized swelling, and because it's a little bit longer, when you're laying in bed, you can usually hit your feet easier than when you're standing and maybe trying to touch your toes or sitting on the couch. A lot of people do it, I know, sitting on the couch, but your feet are downhill. So now what? Those salmon are trying to swim upstream. So lay in bed and, put your foot up in the air for a second or two after you've done it. Just bed is nice because I just find you can reach areas with that. And your compressions are usually off then too. That's the other reason I was bringing that up. I should bring that up. There's no black or white when it comes to compressions. I'm tired of being the big mouth in the middle because I always have the big mouth. But I know some doctors, in particular, Karen Herbst, will recommend absolutely not because in a perfect world, you could put your compressions on and off 15 times a day and it would be easy. But that's not reality. So I do have, I don't know about Kelly, but I do have some that use it. You can use this over your compressions. That's one of the cool things about it. If you did want to do a spot treatment or you got some tension, neuropathy in the feet is another reason. You're not going to take everything off just to hit your feet for a minute or two. But if they're off, it's okay. And if you're laying in bed, to Kelly's, I find if I'm going to do more, I tend to do it later in the evening. So probably better with those compressions off anyways, but there's no right or wrong. You can use a combination. Just, it depends what your day flow kind of drives, right?
Yeah. So the other thing that you can do is just take something that will help your pain. I recommend a lot of times arnica tablets, or there's
to mitigate it before the massage.
Right. Or BioFreeze. My chiropractor that did a lot of connective tissue work on me used BioFreeze. If you're going to use something that has some kind of menthol though, or some kind of gel or something, I wouldn't use this tip because this one is porous.
Yeah, that one, I wouldn't use essential oils or even if you just put a lot of lotion or dry skin. You'll notice if you got dry skin, you can clean it. But depending on which gun you have, this one I have one that's a metal tip as well.
Yeah.
These ones are nice for essential oils. If you can use them to spread lotion if you really want. Ooh, that's maybe a good idea to get in. Spread your lotion challenge with your massage gun. But no, that's a good, so you're just saying like a topical on the skin. What a good idea. Okay.
Yeah. Or even afterward, you can take little arnica tablets. It should help with the soreness the day after, because even if you don't overdo it much, I found when you first start using these guns, the next day you might feel like you went to the gym. Yes. You might be a little sore, and that you need to start paying attention to your pain, because when I went on a trip this last spring, I took the massage gun. And we did a lot of walking, and we were in the mountains. And so it wasn't normal walking. It was like walking. But when I would get back, I would get the gun out and just spend about 10 minutes. And I just did my whole length of my legs and those places I showed you for tension.
Yeah.
And the next morning I woke up and I didn't feel like I thought I was going to feel. Yeah. Which is excruciating pain where I didn't want to get out of bed and I would miss my whole vacation.
That lactic acid. Yeah.
But I was sore, like the kind of good sore where you
knew you had done something.
Right. But it wasn't that I felt like it didn't feel like I overdid it. And I was going to miss everything. It felt like I used the gun and like a good cleansing workout type of thing. So um, I find that it's hard when people have chronic pain to separate where the pain's coming from and what kind of pain it is. I think there's a tendency to be like, I'm still in pain.
Yes.
And sometimes the pain is because it's helping you. And sometimes the pain is because you need to help yourself. And so we got to figure out, is that a good pain or is that a bad pain? And what's the source of the pain? And how do I deal with that pain? And maybe with the massage gun, if you're a little sore the next day, a little bit sore, not like you're dying. If you're dying and bruised, you've
overdone it.
You did it wrong. Maybe not wrong, overdid it. So
that's from pushing too hard.
That is, yeah.
Guaranteed, once you get into this and you get used to it, you are going to do that. Just like, when you go for a massage, some days your tolerance is different, but please absolutely heed our caution, skim the surface mid-speed to start.
Yes.
See how you feel the next day. I always say it's like a tanning bed. Go for 3-4 minutes. If you're not sunburnt, come back. We'll go tomorrow. But if you go 15 and you're pink head to toe, I can't undo too much. That's a really valid point that I usually raise with machines. But I think the more we combine technologies, the big lesson is in this group, you have good days and bad days. And you have your regular pain spot. So your areas. The hips is a good one, but Kelly's suggesting anywhere that you have your regular, that relationship, it's the shoulder maybe, or it's the wrist. This is a tool, what bugs you, what you're going to pay for the next day. No different than if you just were a little maybe more active walking around the block. If you've exceeded your normal day-to-day activities, you're going to be a little bit sore the next day. What I will say, you have to, backing Kelly up here, and this is nothing against people who are inactive, and sometimes it sounds like that, but if you are coming from a place of being inactive, whether that's by choice or because physically your body just don't allow you to, sometimes we forget what exercise or activity pain feels like. And because a lot is happening in a very short period, if these things are doing anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 movements a minute. So, if you were to actually do 5,000 steps in a minute, or if you were even possibly, you'd feel it the next day. So, but on a walk, you'd poop out, this just happens a lot quicker, and there's a lot more activity, even than going for a massage with a therapist. So another reason to take her word as well, start more frequent and even a 5-10 minute session. It's easy to go a half hour, but if you are sore the next day, the number one call I get is because it felt so good. I did like 15 minutes on this leg, and then I did and then I had to recharge it. I had a lady, when this first happened, these things have a 3-hour battery. No, I only used it 20 minutes. Nope. How did the battery die then? Well, so it's easy to overdo it, because while you're doing it, many of you have such good tolerance for your pain. It's kind of that hurts so good pain. It feels good. It's doing something, but give your body time to get used to this. Give it a week or two before you start applying any real pressure, even though I know you can tolerate it.
Right.
Be black and blue.
The other thing I'll say is, it's not a race. You don't need to go on Debbie's page and read her comment to some woman who's been using a gun for 2 years, where she says, oh, well, you need to do this, this, and this. And you say, well, I'm not doing that. I need to catch up to that lady. No, you don't. No, it's not a race. And there's too much comparison I think there's too much comparison. And I think women who have lipedema, I just want the answer. They just want
what's a long time coming for sure for many. But I don't want to say it's going to be a gray area. But thank you for bringing that up, because we were talking about this when we were dusting off our nerves before we started. But I've been doing vibration machines and these guns for quite some time, and just like everything else in the lipedema, Derkham's disease, those are the only two I say, but there's many variations, lymphedema. It's not in the manual. It never has been, never will be. So don't expect a manufacturer and what comes out of the box and their instructions to work for you. If it does, great, awesome. But you probably find that, that's you in general. You can go to the gym and not pay for it the next day. It doesn't affect you the same. If you're the type of person that everything you've ever tried in the past had a price starting out, I don't want to say don't try it, but be conservative. Just be conservative. It's not about winning the race. The cool thing about the gun, even more so over the Vibe machines, because they are so little, you can really apply the less is more. So, maybe try a little bit. And if you're heading over to a friend's or you're going to be in the car for 5-6 hours, take it with you and do a little bit more later on. And if you feel okay, and a couple hours later, maybe you could do a little bit more. They're small enough, and just have it handy. It takes 21 days to make or break a habit. Have it on the kitchen table, have it in plain view. And then when you do have a pain, instead of going to the cupboard for the Advil, maybe you can try this for a week and see how that works out for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
if you do overdo it, I know some people get frustrated because I don't talk enough about guns, but they're kind of brilliant in their simplicity to a degree. If you like anything, my page exists to nag you enough to get you to stick with it for at least a period of time where you can go, hey, you know what? First couple weeks were a little rough, but I got my sea legs now. Okay. 9 times out of 10, when you guys are starting something new, doesn't matter what it is, there's things that come up. There's adaptation that needs to be made. There's changes. So if you have an adverse effect to trying a vibration gun, there's no such thing as wrong, but there's modifications. And like I say, It's going to be too long or too aggressive, or a combination of the two. There's very little things you can kind of do wrong with them, then just overdo it. That's the biggest suggestion.
The other thing I'll say is I've heard of less bad effects, for lack of a better term, from the guns than other things.
I know, right? I was expecting more people to send me pictures of, like, they broke a finger off, but I think you guys, for those of you that have been with me since the beginning of this giveaway and have listened to me ramble since, it's pretty rare now, even within my group, if there is an ill effect, that 15 other people aren't coming on and just saying, oh, just do this. And it's usually speed it up and press less hard. That's usually or too long.
Yeah.
So, I will say, I've been doing vibration machines and I have all kinds of toys for the long, but if I do something every day, like I'm always on the machine for a minute or two, but at the end of my day, when I'm on the couch, it's there. And I even use it on my dog. My dog loves it on his hips, on his neck, right?
And I will say, I heard Dr. Herbst answer a question from a woman who was concerned about her young daughter developing lipedema.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My little girl is 6 and she loves this gun. She wants to
tolerance.
Yeah, she loves it.
Yep.
And, I do her back and I do her legs, and it's becoming part of how she understands that she can take care of herself.
But how cool that she can also, this is something she can help you with too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is a cool point. That is a cool point.
So I think my 6-year-old doesn't have lipedema. I don't know if she will, but there is a genetic component. And so it makes me happy. This gun is not going to hurt her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt her with it. I don't know that you could go to a pediatrician and the pediatrician would say, yes, I'm going to prescribe that gun for your child, because she might get lipedema when she's 30.
They can't prescribe it yet, so they don't get to inflate it sometimes.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you have one of these and your teenage daughter or your little daughter wants to run it up and down her legs, then
I'm not sure if you've been advised against that, but outside of my lipedema life, the other thing that I specialize in is pediatric recovery. And there's a very awesome, amazing neurosurgeon at St. Louis Children's that recommends, absolutely, for spasticity with cerebral palsy, why are you spending 4 hours a night stretching and massaging hamstrings? You lift that leg and you use a massage gun. So the only reason people don't recommend massage guns is they have no experience with them.
Right. They don't know about it.
That's usually your first flag. If somebody's, and then like, 10 years ago, I didn't have the courage I do now. But when somebody says, no, it's no good for you, I used to be, oh, okay. And now I'm like, well, why not? How many of you have even got a freaking diagnosis, let alone, this is the group of experimentation. We just want to stress as a last point to experiment responsibly, right? So yes, I have a lot of people that Debbie told me, and I did tell you, but 9 times out of 10, you've got a little longer than I recommended. That's my number one thing I find. And no different than every other person I've talked about massage guns. Kelly is bang on. I think there's a mentality starting slow is like beginner and going high is like advanced. Well, it's not like you're going up a weight rack here or you're on a treadmill where you're going faster and faster. Right. And up speed on a vibration machine or gun is different than speed on a treadmill. On a treadmill, yes, I would recommend starting at a low speed and a minimal incline. I wouldn't start at mid speed with halfway up, but on a vibration platform, whatever you're receiving the vibration through, the slower you go, the more of a thump. The more you get going faster, the more it gets a little less choppy. And then some ladies actually find the only thing they can tolerate is the top speed when they're starting. And the top speed is really, if you're just barely brushing it, some people are that sensitive. You've got neuropathy, shingles, whatever internally is going on. That's not a bad thing. But again, the speed is directly related to the amount of pressure too. You don't need to apply. So that's experimenting responsibly. Keep your duration short and more frequent as well starting out. That would be, and I'm glad your daughter's using it. Our kids get growing pains. They get, sometimes with kids, because you guys are so big on the self-care thing, sometimes they're just curious what you're doing.
Yeah.
So many people, the things that I do on vibration machines and the things that people have claimed that I have harmed, like I've harmed this kid, I've harmed that kid. Kids are a little different than adults. Kids don't have 40 years of society in their brain telling them do this, don't do that. I've never had a kid get on a vibration machine within their own, if they're mobile, but I guarantee Deb, Kelly, and both of our daughters get on the machines. And if we didn't like it, we'd hang on and stick it because that's what Debbie said to do, or that's the timer's not done yet. Kids, they just get off. They all like it. They don't seek permission. They don't think they're doing it wrong. They don't think that way yet. So same with the guns. If you think you're going to have a vibe gun in your house and your kid's not going to play with it, you go ahead and you hide the charge. They will find it. I've had power cords. I've done everything to hide it. They will find it. Better to let them be curious, understand how to use it responsibly. Again, to your point, they're not going to hurt themselves. If they hit themselves on a bone, it hurts. They're going to stop. Kids aren't dumb. If you have a child where you need to keep everything locked up, maybe that's another conversation. But for general use, I think if you show them how it works, and if you get time, they get time. Just like my dog going for a walk. So you get your 5 minutes with the massage gun today, or I've got like the rollers too. My daughter loves rolling her calf. Rollers.
Yes. My daughter just zoom all over the house on the foam roller.
Exactly.
All over the place.
So, kid, let them, if they want to be active, great. Less rolling around on the floor that you have to do. But no, that's a great point. And as they get older, like I say, growing pains, spasticity, if you are dealing, I've got actually some families that have lipedema, and I also help their children with cerebral palsy. So bang for both buck, same with the vibration machine. So, and for those of you, if you do have something weird or funky, or you've had a bad experience, reach out. That's what we're here. I'm not claiming to know everything. Everything I do is not in the box. And a lot of it is just coming from a place of experience. So I don't have necessarily everything in a PDF to send, but I think you'll notice a common theme between what Kelly had suggested today and what many people in their group and mine using the guns. The first piece of advice you'll get is bring it up in speed if you're finding it's not comfortable. And outside of that, we will have another chat another day. Make sure that if you are not a member, if you know me, you're already a member of their page. But if you're new to this page and you are not a member, I am going to put in the comments a link to the lipedema page, and I'm going to have Kelly offer me a few links of other things if there's anything they want to promote. And we are only 2 weeks into the month. There's momentum building towards the end of the month. Lots of great interviews coming, lots of awareness, and share it. The purpose of awareness, it's great that we're all giving each other high fives, but use that energy and that momentum to reach out. Maybe you introduce 2 people that don't understand the food piece about your condition to their page, and people that are in your support group, people that are in your network. Don't go to Google. These pages have the best information, the most accurate information. And you know what? If you do end up having a diagnosis, you're already in the community, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see a survey someday of, number of lipedema, diagnoses by Facebook groups like ours versus, that's a big thing. And I know a lot of you are lacking access to doctors, and don't feel that you need to spend thousands of dollars on virtual consults and airplane tickets. You know what? If you think you have it, if 50 other women in the group say, yeah, I think you have it, maybe you do. So big deal. Buy a massage gun instead of $1,000 plane ticket, right? Start moving and feeling better. And if you are seeking a diagnosis, tools like this will certainly be a better investment than a pity party. So, and maybe you don't, I don't wish everyone coming to these pages have that realization, but I think there are a lot of people coming to this page and going, I'm home. So, I thank you, Kelly, in particular. There's a few gals that are special to my heart because I do not have lipedema. I'm just that crazy lady that is at conferences and thinks she knows everything about lipedema and vibration machines. And I had my own realization I said about 4 or 5 years ago where I ended up at FDRS in Dallas, and my God, like I think some of my clients have this. There are things that, I've been doing this 10 years prior to that, and I'd never heard of lipedema until I went to a conference. And lo and behold, the numbers keep changing. I did a couple of blog articles this month, but some countries are as much as 20% of women have this condition.
Yeah.
Some are as low as 10, 11, but regardless, 1 in 10 is by no means common. That's just me. So share and be aware.
Right.
Okay. And what's the rest of your day looking like?
I hope not much. I hope it's I hope it's just relaxing, and it's hot here in Texas. So I hope that it's just relaxing and, a cold drink or something.
Put your feet in a nice cold tub, and if you get swelling, you know what to do.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The biggest thank you, Kelly really did, take this on blindly. Just let me post it on their page, and they didn't really know what to expect. And I had no experience with what to do. So we were kind of winging it with manufacturer's guidance at that point. So I'm so pleased. Something in my gut just told me this made sense. But again, I don't have the lumps and the bumps in the body type to experiment like you guys have. So I'm really glad that this has not only turned out to be a short-term win, but really kind of turned into a lifestyle management piece for you.
It has. And I think it's a very good tool if people just want something they can use that's not too expensive, that can have a big impact on their pain levels and their inflammation and their, their tissue.
It's awesome to go for a massage or have a big bubble bath, but generally speaking, it's taxing and it takes time. What I guess I like about a lot of the tools that I have that are the quick fixes is it's empowering if you can do it yourself and you're not having to rely on somebody else. Even if it's just, I'm not saying you might not be able to do everywhere, but for the day-to-day stuff, if you can just empower yourself without it being a drug or a needle, it's just awesome. So I'm glad that we met before, but now we really got to know each other because now we play with vibrators and talk about it.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And like I say, I'll get some links going after the broadcast. And I wish everyone a great weekend. And thank you for joining us.